How's it? And welcome to our second episode of The Risk Guy. With me today, once again, I've got Kevin van Zyl. Kevin, thank you very much for being here with us.
Sure, thanks.
Really
Neil.
appreciate it. I think it's our second time now doing this, and I think we're getting used to the camera and talking to the camera, and it's something that you have to get used to.
Exciting, yeah.
To me, it's a growth path. You know, you're pushing yourself to things that make you uncomfortable, and
Sure.
to a point where it becomes comfortable.
Sure.
But yeah, thank you again for joining us. Last time we had a discussion and we asked, what is risk? You took us through the process, and as promised, we said we'll talk about school safety today. So it's going to be interesting, and I'll take your guidance on how we build this process into school safety. And I think there's a lot of segments when we talk about school safety.
Sure.
And I think let's start at home, going to school. I think that's a good way. So we're traveling to school, and there's many means of traveling. Some people will take their own kids to school. Other people use bus transport, taxis.
Sure.
You use somebody else to pick up your kid. It might be the neighbor taking your kid to school. And I believe there's risk to it, whether you're doing it yourself or whatever means of transport you use. And I think we can just start the process. What is the risk in that, in transport, and how can we mitigate and control that as parents?
Thanks, Neil, and thanks for the opportunity to chat again. Yeah, I think, you know, the various facets to school safety, and many of them can become contentious from a risk point of view, but let's start at home. So many people, specifically in South Africa, have the privilege of transporting their kids to school, where others are reliant on so-called public transport or transport of another nature. The net result is that you are entrusting the life of your child with somebody else. So let's bring it closer to home and say your own transport. Leaving home, making sure that your own wheels are in order, are safe, and that you are conscientious about the safety of your vehicle. Moreover, depending on the age of your child, how do you secure your child in that vehicle, or children in that vehicle when you travel? I am horrified when I often drive around and I see young school kids on the back of what we in South Africa call a bakkie, an open vehicle, no restraints, and perhaps conditions force people into those circumstances, but we need to be aware of that risk. So apart from your own vehicle and what you do in your own vehicle to make your child safe, there's always the security considerations for those who can implement smash and grab on vehicles, who can educate their wives and themselves, if it's the man in the family or anybody else, the brother, the sister, to learn a little bit about counter surveillance and to make sure that you're not being followed by the same vehicle to school and back from school. Change routes. There are many techniques that one can apply. The arrival at schools often fascinates me. Where the sequence of traffic can become an inherent risk for people all offloading their kids. It's a time to be cautious, and perhaps I'm stating the obvious, but you have kids of different ages who are excited to be at school, to see their friends and partake in the first event of their day. Let's make sure that our school preparation and parking areas and where we drop our kids and load up our kids in the afternoon are sound for that purpose.
You know,
it's that traffic circle.
Being a parent myself, I call it controlled chaos, because when you get there, it's exactly how I describe it. It's controlled chaos. But in that chaos, although it seems like everybody is controlled, I think there might be some vulnerability gaps in there.
Yes.
Where the risk can be actually serious.
Sure. And one would, as a parent, want to undertake the responsibility to the school to ask, who does marshalling in peak times? Who's the extra set of eyes and ears amongst the traffic and amongst parents picking up and dropping off their kids? So just the basics, the volume of traffic that goes into a school, the flow dynamics of the traffic, and so we can go on. So school safety in terms of transport from your home is a sensitive issue, but the common sense and the logic needs to be inherent in our daily activity when we're transporting our kids.
It just brings me to something else. The Schools Act clearly talks about transporting of children.
Sure.
And all the requirements, the vehicle requirements, the driver requirements, so at least have a driver license, and on top of that, a professional driver's permit. That is it's non-negotiable. And I know currently in South Africa it's become a big topic in the last month.
For sure.
I know the traffic police are quite on top of it. But I think it's something that actually needs to have a big exclamation mark on top of it when we transporting people as a public service.
Yes. I think it rolls up for me to, and we're talking risk, right? Do schools act proactively in what they do in terms of transport of their kids? That is now, often we have families or individuals who don't have the luxury of transporting their kids, and they're reliant on, let's call it for now, public transport. Has the parent demanded from the school that there's a risk assessment process to satisfy himself or herself that the parents are comfortable that where I'm releasing my child to is in circumstances acceptable risk? In other words, we're not only reliant on what traffic say and what the laws of the country say, but we apply our own good governance by taking accountability.
I agree.
So, we've seen those two options, transporting our kids ourselves or transporting kids through public transport. The other component where I think the schools play a bigger and a more active role is, have they evaluated the public transport persons, companies who are transporting the children? From the points that you raised, from the driver to the capability and the satisfactory, safe performance of the vehicle. Again, we don't have to be reliant on the government spheres as traffic, etc. To satisfy ourselves that we have gone and checked and done the risk assessment, even if it is in conjunction with the school, to make sure that those processes are safe for the transportation of our kids.
No, I agree. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
I was just thinking of something, and it's now left my mind. But when I get back to it, I'll bring it up again.
Sure.
And I think now that we've arrived at school, so we're now at school, and this is quite an interesting. And having a background of teaching, I actually don't know when does the responsibility change over now. So I would believe it's where the fence end, because you're going to drop your kid off outside school and they're going to walk into the premises. So when does that responsibility change over? And it's maybe something we can look at. But I think as a school, they would have a duty of care with regardless. We're not going to draw lines where we take responsibility and do not take responsibility. But it's good for a school to know where your responsibilities start, especially for teachers, because having the background, the bell would ring at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, but let's call it the end of the day, and the kids leave the classroom and you only see them tomorrow morning again.
Yes.
But there's a period in that time before they are picked up, where the responsibility or the onus of responsibility still lies with the school.
Yes.
But I don't want to deviate too much. Let's get back to where we were. We've dropped off and now school is starting. Kids have arrived. So now I think we move to the school.
Yes.
And we can start off with the headmaster and going down, and where's accountability and what should we look at if I'm a headmaster.
Yes.
To ensure safety. So we look at OSH, security.
Yeah.
And I think security is maybe a good point, because now we're moving into arriving at school. So we had access control, management. Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for the comment. And I think where I want to draw the line, so to speak, is we must never forget that as parents, we're always accountable. And I think that's first principle.
Yeah.
We never transfer accountability. As parents, we're always accountable. And if we are accountable and we remain accountable for our children, as we should do, we should transfer that to the school in the right manner. What does that mean? Also making the school alert to the fact that they're accountable for the period of custody of your child. You have a joint effort, but I wouldn't use the Bell example as now the transfer has stopped or the transfer has started. It's a continuous process.
Yeah.
And I'm not a legal eagle, but I'm assuming that accountability will be continuous through the process.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I know there's a nice word, illoco parentis. It is standing in for the time being, but that doesn't mean you take accountability. You take a responsibility of care, which is still a big responsibility that you take.
And with responsibility comes duty.
Duties, yeah. But so that's just a nice. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but
no, not at all. So I think the at school scenario becomes very interesting.
Yeah.
We know that in terms of the laws of the country, teachers have now accepted your child into the school domain, and teachers by default of the country's legislation have to go through specific clearance processes.
Yeah.
So from the headmaster down to the teacher, I would undertake that they've gone through, or accept that they've undertaken the process of going through that clearance.
Yeah.
At school now, one must ask the question. Remember, we're talking the people component here first. We're not talking the physical conditions of the school. We would need to ask who else during school time arrives at school to do various things.
Yeah.
An example would be the electrician or the plumber who comes along to do certain work at school. He's perhaps contracted and he comes there on a regular basis. Have we ensured that person and his team are also fit in terms of clearance, etc., to work at the school in question?
Yeah.
So that's an example. If one moves away from people and we look at the physical side of the school, is there adequate protection for the kids in terms of perimeter? Is there adequate detection around the perimeter with cameras to see when people are approaching the fences to talk to children?
Yeah.
Is there triggers? Why are they talking to children? Is there illicit exchange happening at the school that we may not be aware of? So I can sit here and I can punch a whole number of things for you in terms of physical components, in terms of people components. I want to hasten to say again there must be a risk management component that sits with the school and the parents to say, are we satisfied that our safety controls and that our security controls are adequate for children at school?
Yeah. And
that's the bottom line.
And that's very interesting that you say that, because once again, I'll refer back to my previous life. Although there was always a duty of care, and although there was always some sort of an OSH and a security, I mean, you'll always find a security contracted company there, and they'll have some guards and they'll drive around. So it's not that schools do not do these things. I think they do it. I just don't think there's really things on paper, and not that paper make things happen. I actually wanted to say the plan.
Yes.
A plan to manage and mitigate risk top to bottom.
Yes.
Whether we're traveling away from the school, whether we're doing school on the premises, whether we're coming to school or leaving school, I just don't think there's a proper management of risk plan set in place. It's always, and you know me, teachers do everything at school. You are not just a teacher. You're a sports coach. You help with the security. You're the driver. You do everything. But that leaves a gap. Because although you do everything, it's almost like that you're a master of none. That's almost the role that you play. You're a jack of all trades when you're a teacher, but you're not a master, and that's where the gaps come in. And I think there is where a step in can be made to help and support schools.
And I think whether it's at school, away from school, to school, from school, we must always think, what are the preventative measures that we need to take? What are the preventative measures that are going to help us in this process, and how well have we documented it so that it's clear to the principal, the teachers, and everyone involved in any of those processes? The lack of good documentation, it doesn't fix the problem, but it certainly guides us to allow us to tick the boxes. Have we done what we're supposed to do or have we not? And it resonates with when we are away from school or at school, have we taken out that specific risk assessment and examined it from a preventative point of view and from a mitigation point of view? We never know when the unwanted event is going to attach itself. And the event occurs. Are we satisfied as a teaching core or management corps of the school that we have mitigation actions in place and we can deal with the unwanted event, whatever that may be? And away from school, the same would apply. If you're doing an event elsewhere away from school, what have you done to ensure preventative measures? Have you examined where you're going, what you're doing there, what are the events, and have you done risk-related examination of that entire process to satisfy yourself? Again, we have prevention and we have mitigation.
And I completely agree with you, because if you're an organization, whether it's now a school or any organization, if you want to move your people out of that organization to another area, you would expect that the standards and the level of security and safety is the same where it is within your organization. You will never want to move your people into an area that's lower in standard than where you come from. And that's the idea.
The biggest danger that I've seen with this is assumption. There's always an assumption. Parents assume that because a teacher or somebody is going with this group to place A, everything's fine. Because we know the qualities of the teacher. But very often the circumstances under which the teacher needs to operate and wherever they're going to a particular venue is against what the norm is of what the teacher is used to, because you've removed them from that environment. Do parents know that?
And I can relate to it. Because I've went on many tours.
Sure.
And you're always in control.
Yes.
So you're always in control.
Yes.
But I always had that feeling inside me, will I be able to control the uncontrollable?
Sure. Sure.
And then you do mitigation in your head and you make plans, and
Yes.
but you've got no guidelines because there's nothing that you can refer back to. So now you must hope
Yes.
that what you're putting in your mind will work, instead of putting things on paper, stress testing them
Yes.
to see if it actually works. And now you've got a lot more assurance
Of course.
that what you've put
I
in
would
place.
go to the area of prevention again.
Yeah.
And although I'm entrusting this process of away from school with the teacher, I would want comfort that it has been pre-assessed, and that I can give parents the comfort that whatever event we're dealing with over there, we've examined, we've checked it. Does it make it foolproof? No. There's always the probability in risk, isn't there? But we're ready in any event that if something does happen, we've taken the necessary steps, and moreover, we have documented them to remind us that the risk assessment was done well.
No, I agree. No, thank you very much.
Sure.
I think we had a good discussion. If there's anything you'd like us to talk about with regards to school safety, please leave comments below.
Yep.
We would really come back to you, talk to you. And if you'd like us to come and visit your school, please leave your contact details or go to horizonrisk.co.za. We will follow up with you and support you. Kevin, thank you for being with us here today.
Sure.
I see we've got a new family here.
Yes.
We had the eagle the previous time, and I see now the meerkats have made their way to our studio. Is there a story that you have with regards to meerkats?
Well, yes. You will know that I'm a Kalahari boy.
Oh, yeah.
And I come from that world, and it was a privilege very often to go to the farms and watch behavior of meerkats.
Okay.
To see how well they care for their children and how well their nest environment, because they burrow in the sand, of course.
Yeah.
And that their watchtowers are excellent, and as you can see, they're all on guard here. And really, that's the message for today with the meerkats. Think meerkat when you think kids at school. Are we on guard? Are we looking out for wherever they're going to be? Because it's about the little ones. They're the future.
Most precious possession, eh?
Yes, of course. And most recently, I was in the Kalahari again, walking on a golf course, a very famous golf course. And I happened to see a lot of them, and it took my memories back to the real good watch animals they are, and the alert that they give to their kids when there's trouble. I think we can relate to that.
No, for sure.
So they joined us for the conversation.
Yeah, that is great. No, but thank you once again for being here and sharing your knowledge. I think 40 years we can probably take a lot from you, and we really appreciate that you were here with us.
Thanks, Neil. Yeah, if the Lord keeps me, then the 40 years will continue,
Yeah, we hope so too. And I hope we will probably have guests within time. We'll invite other people that are specialists in SMEs in their world.
Of course.
And I look forward to it.
Lovely.
I haven't thought this through, but is there something specific you'd like to talk to about in our next episode?
No, I think, as we roll on, we will raise a topic like we've done for schools. I think while we're on the topic of schools, perhaps what I would like to go into a bit more detail is security at schools.
Okay.
For the simple reason that there's a key role to play in terms of monitoring the protection of schools, not only when kids are there, but when kids are not there. There are often teachers that have to work late. There are teachers that go in early. What are the basics that they can do to ensure their own safety? So I'm changing the focus a little bit away from children only, but also for the duty of care of teachers. and the management of the school who have to be there.
Yeah.
Who have they enrolled from a security point of view that's proactive? When last did they do a vulnerability assessment to assess the school's vulnerability, to protect them against routine crime, as I would call it, or ordinary street crime, to more complex crimes, such as organized crime?
Yeah.
And within that sphere, I think there's quite a lot that we can talk about around making sure that schools are not just safe, but schools are also secure.
Secure. Yeah, and I think, I know Horizon's got a very nice platform where they actually give you a ranking on your security. So if they really wanted to do that, please do so. I think it's good to know.
Yes.
The biggest sense, and I think that's also a topic for the future, is the false sense that people get.
Absolutely.
Through certain things, and I don't want to point out.
No, we make nobody wrong. We address risk.
But there's a big false sense when it comes to security.
Sure.
And it's usually the general public that gets that false sense of security. But I think that's a discussion for a later time.
Next session.
But yeah, thank you. Thank you. And
thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. To our viewers, thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing, taking your time to spend the 20 or 30 minutes odd with us. Like I said earlier, please like, subscribe, leave a comment there. If there's things we can do better, please share with us. And to us, this is just a pleasure, and we enjoy having you with us. Take care. Cheers. Until later. Bye.
Bye-bye.